It's another week in the For Your Reference household, but it is our very first OT. It took us our 4th year to finally cover Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Han Solo who? Indiana Jones who? Not today. Get off my reference. Let's get on with the show. Friends and red, white, and blue lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And OT.
Wring out your sweaty silk blouse and assume the position of patriotism. Trace the goddamn call with Air Force One this week.
Stomping on my Air Force Ones.
And there's your Pride and Prejudice Atlanta, friends and lovers. Ooh-hoo-hoo. And for a Nelly reference, a Band-Aided. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Welcome, friends and lovers, one and all. I recall Glenn Close, and I would also mention we cover a lot, friends and lovers, in regards to the tonality, a lot of heavy real life shit, but also in regards to different genres, weebs. We see the downloads on Demon Slayer and even Naruto to this day. But we always try to, throw some back, to the average movie goer. And, that includes Fatal Attraction, for example. It includes horny boy Michael Douglas, The Game. And today we are covering what I would imagine a lot of people are finally like, oh, okay, we've made it through all of the episodes because you're nasty, and we can finally listen to a review of For Your Reference and be spoiled in all of the sploosh places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into general stats and information because there is absolutely a lot of eagle soaring things to talk about in this film.
Oh, wow.
Spoiler. Scooby-Doo antics, Scooby-Doo antics, Scooby-Doo antics. Never have I admired Scrappy-Doo more than watching the action scenes in this film.
Wow. Wow. You're firing shots this early, mate.
Well, they're more accurate than the shots in this film. In regards to release date, this is a sweet slice of cinema. July 1997, directed by Wolfgang Peterson, written by Andrew W. Merlo. In regards to starring, OT has already hinted a second Glenn Close. Oh, actually, no. It would be a third Glenn Close because we've also covered The Shield.
Oh, shit. I forgot she was in that.
Naive motherfucker in that. Whether we cover Tehran will remain to be seen, right, OT? But in regards to, we have many firsts, actually. So bring out your bingo cards, friends and lovers. Harrison Ford, Gary Oldman, Paul Guilfoyle, as well as William H. Macy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I am quite new to the Macy love train. However, I would imagine him to be more believable as Shameless than a clean-shaven man that I'm supposed to follow the instructions to catapult out of a plane. It's very much giving Captain Lammers.
Oh, 100% Captain Lovers vibes.
It's been a while since we've given an Archer reference, friends and lovers. Go and check out our Archer episode that we have. But OT. Budget, $85 million.
Mm-hmm.
Friends and lovers, particularly our American friends and lovers, I don't genuinely believe it's physically possible to have all of those conference rooms on that plane. I believe in the American dream, and that American dream would tell me that if they wanted 1 million conference rooms on a fucking plane and business was that important, that they would have it. I just don't, the science isn't sciencing.
You just not seeing shit out there.
It was giving me very much Twilight Zone. Black lady sketch show twerking on the wing of a plane.
The bloody Airbus now that you'd fucking lose your shit over.
Well, I know your best friend Jennifer Aniston was in a jacuzzi. So budget of 85 million and a worldwide gross of $315 million OT.
Ooh, they made bank.
That's a lot of patriotic dollary dues. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get into first impressions. Again, this is a highlight because this is the first time we've covered Harrison Ford, but you've mentioned particularly that you've enjoyed this film. I guess enlighten us to how many times you've watched it and where have you found it in the 2020s, my love?
Like you said, watch this, I think, a year it came out, if I remember correctly. And wow, I was blown away. I enjoyed it. And I think rewatching it now, this is my second time rewatching it.
Okay.
So rewatching it now, the like lines that just flew over my head. I was like, what the fuck? This is fucking hilarious. I enjoyed this movie thoroughly. It was funny. It didn't take itself too seriously.
I think it did take itself seriously.
It did not take itself seriously.
Mate, from the very first scene, we had sentimental patriotic music in the background. Come on.
Yeah, that's a joke.
No. OT. OT, you're still in the Yaya loose pill pocket matrix. I don't think it was supposed to be a joke.
No, I just mean that the delivery, the throwaway comments, I fucking loved it. You could tell how serious they wanted to be, but to me, it came off fucking lighthearted and it was just bloody fun.
Because this was a fucking horny love letter to America, was it not?
It was, and there's nothing wrong with it because America. And this encapsulates the 90s so much.
Yeah.
The sort of action movie during that time. It was just bloody, so much nostalgia came through it. And I was like, yeah, I'm in for this. And I loved every single bit of this. I laughed at the sweating through your silk blouse, you know?
Of course you would.
She needed a clever retort to that. But anyway.
Yeah, I think would have been really fun, or maybe we would have rolled our eyes like in hindsight. It would have been very fun for her to have a little tit for tat.
Yeah, don't just swallow it and be like, release the hostages. I'm like, nah, come back, club back, anything.
She could have been like, I'll bottle it and I'll sell it to you. Like, I don't know.
I don't think OnlyFans was there that back then.
It would have been nice for her to, because she was very much playing, not necessarily the straight man, because I would say that would be Harrison Ford, but she was really playing it straight. She was very serious. It would have been nice to have her diffuse a bit of the tension as well, I think.
You could tell she was very pragmatic. She didn't want to veer off her trail of thought. No one swayed her in any way, which is, she was loyal to a fault sometimes. People were trying to get her to be bloody president, and she was like, yeah, nah. So, and this is what actually I've been talking about people, it's always about fucking self-interest all the time. It was bloody a breath of fresh air saying someone just sticks to the moral.
I think she was playing into one of the team, one of the cohorts was mentioning that the vice president is essentially the Queen of England. Like, she's got no power. So I think, her character, Catherine Bennett, was kind of playing into the eunuch type of character that doesn't necessarily have the proverbial balls to execute any sort of orders. I don't necessarily think it was nobility. I just think it was lack of sharpshooting execution.
I think it was just more towards loyalty. Everyone in this space has some fucking ambition, and that's why she was sitting there as a bloody vice president.
No, but ambition is the president, not vice president.
It's a stepping stone.
Mommy, I want to grow up to be the vice president. I don't think maybe Kamala. I don't know.
It's not a throwaway. It's not a throwaway position. And you've not watched Veep. If you watched Veep, you'd understand.
I thought you were going to give me like a real life example.
Ew, fuck real life.
It's like you open the blinds to the burning fucking fire of reality, and then you close the blinds and watch patriotic shit like this. That's what. I guess before we get carried away in film discussion, I want to get into my first impressions. We're very happy of the films that we cover, but it might be maybe even glaringly so. There's a lot of go-to films that other film podcasts cover that we just don't really dabble in, and it might just have to do with the fact of our interests. But again, I'm very new to Harrison Ford. I wouldn't. I feel like if I say serviceable, I'm going to get in trouble. I feel like he's cool. I feel like he's obviously very handsome. I don't necessarily see the gravitas, the sort of charm, but I can see why he's lasted decades.
Continue to dig your grave, mate.
Oh, go off, King. You can archaeologically dig just like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. Is it as sacrilegious to indigenous people as Tomb Raider is?
Aren't they all?
And that, friends and lovers, in a nutshell, is why I can't enjoy modern cinema. I actually
PC baby.
Yeah, didn't you know we're the first black film podcast?
Oh, because we bring credigree?
We do. South Park, friends and lovers. So in any case, I don't think I was even aware of Air Force One, but I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow.
Just like friends and lovers, I can surprise you from time to time. Just like we enjoyed Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just happens. You open your heart, friends and lovers, and you see what film feels reside in your heart chambers.
Wow, that's surprising.
Right? I want to cover a couple of themes before we talk about the character. I regard OT as the encyclopedia for the podcast. We joke how I watch nothing and OT pretty much watches everything. What would you say are your favorite, like, quintessential American sort of films? Because this absolutely fits the brief. Are there any others you want to throw into the mix?
Independence Day.
Okay.
Rocky. Anything Michael Bay has done.
Including Ambulance?
Ridiculous. Including Ambulance.
Something that I wanted to touch on in this film is, well, first of all, there was not necessarily a social commentary, but there was definitely dialogue, trying to address beyond the fictional sort of characters that we had. It was particularly at the start of the film where I think it was coined as the "Be Afraid" speech that President James Marshall had. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, because in a world where I guess we're trying to be more conscious of issues that are not only affecting us but others, again, sending love to our American friends and lovers, because it is continuing to be a fucking dumpster fire over there. But there was a general speech of President James being ashamed, I would even say, that America took too long to intervene, and they should have done it earlier and not when there was a very real threat on American shores. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on it, because it was introduced, but I don't necessarily feel as though it was executed very well. Thoughts?
I think it was more to do that the political interests aligned. That's when they felt, ooh, we need to take action. In part, I agree with what James Marshall was saying, that they needed to be more proactive, because we've seen situations where, we're going to sit back until things, we feel like it's going to affect us. That's when we jump in, and people suffer through that. So I agree with that aspect, but I do understand what you're saying. Well, it's all bloody fucking self-serving anyway.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we've had situations like, be it bloody genocide in Rwanda, where everyone just stood back and watched, including the fucking UN. And you look back.
Well, they were the first ones to flee. They were there to help until shit got real, and then they flee.
Yeah, you look back at such situations and like, bruh,
Yeah.
I get that there needs to be that action, there needs to be that proactiveness in defending other people.
Yeah.
So I can't fully jump on the bandwagon of you being like, this is not right.
But just very quickly, if we're talking about institutions that are potentially skewed, hashtag free West Papua. But also going back to the film, I'm saying that the dialogue was there. I'm not negating that it wasn't there. I'm just saying I don't think it was very effective because he felt that way, but is he really going to follow through and do the work for it? Because again, all of his advisors, all of his team were like, yeah, we can't deliver that.
It was more, he shouldn't say that, because the minute he said that, it turned it into a bloody policy that they had to put in place.
Yeah.
So it was more, oh mate, you've just pushed your career down the dumpster fire.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's part of the problem, because politicians don't run for policy, they run for elections. So they're only really going to band-aid shit until they get to the next fucking election.
Fact.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he might have felt bad in that particular moment, but even without his advisors, I don't think he had the wherewithal. I don't think he had the stamina to continue to fight in the ring, brother. That's what I'm saying.
20 more minutes extended in this movie after they've been rescued and it goes back to normal BAU stuff. You understand that you get to see the point where he's he's popular until, all that shit wears down.
Yeah.
And once he tries to get this policy in place, it's not going to pass. No one's going to do shit like that.
The word of today, OT, filibustering. How you got all these progressive Democrats and still nothing gets fucking passed? We can all roll around in podcasting, but there's some real fucking shit that isn't happening. But anyway, who knew? Who knew the president promising big things would get us political on the podcast, OT? I'm actually surprised because I did feel the pepperings of patriotism in this film, but I didn't realize it would actually attempt. I don't think it executed well, but I'm surprised that it actually tried to attempt some sort of reflection on the American sort of politics. So I thought that was quite interesting. But again, it kind of brings me to his daughter. And there's definitely something about, being a prepubescent and wanting to understand the world and, potentially wanting to grow up too soon. But really also, when you're young, you don't know what the boundaries are and the reason for those boundaries, right? So that's a very human experience. But what I didn't care for was the daughter acting like going to, a refugee camp is like going to a zoo. I didn't care for that.
Ooh.
Am I wrong though?
Mate.
Am I wrong?
She's a kid.
She was 12 years old. She was old enough to know that you don't treat other humans like animals. It was disgusting. Oh, Daddy. Why she was like that fucking spoiled kid in Willy Wonka. But instead of asking for stupid material things, she was asking to see humans in squalid conditions. Disgusting.
Well, there's that bit, but I don't think it was more meant towards, hey, let me go and see these people because it will be like a bloody zoo. It was more hard trying to feel adult and see how war affects people. But James Marshall pulls her back, and she's still a kid and she has to enjoy life before she understands fully how fucked up the world really is.
No, we need to go back to that scene because it was a curiosity that she wanted to know what happened in the refugee camp that I didn't necessarily care for. Put some lip gloss on. Kiss your friend. That's what you do when you're young and you're trying to figure out the fucking world. Coming of age films is that, not going to a fucking refugee camp.
2030 coming of age slum tourism, mate.
Well, that's what I said when we were watching this film. She was the first iteration of slum tourism. She was the fucking creator. You can say voluntourism, but it's the same fucking thing.
That was in jest. I just think, I see what you're saying. I just felt that it was more trying to protect her from revealing too much of how fucked up the world is and her interest in trying to be grown up and being like the dad. At the end of the day, she's the daughter of a president. She wants to...
So she's insulated from real life issues. She doesn't know how to relate to the common man. No. No, we're doing this. We're doing this. Well, I don't know why you want to protect this little kid. We've talked about shit like this to many a degree, and I don't understand why you're holding back now.
I'm not holding back. It's more, I understand the intention of which it was meant, you know? It didn't come to me as this girl wants to go look at refugees as, you know, like she's at the zoo. It was more she wanted to just experience what the dad is experiencing and seeing the effects of war and all that and trying to trying to understand all that. But anyway, I do see where you're coming from though.
Friends and lovers, OT seems to have been radicalized by some forums. Go and rewatch the scene and we'll all agree. I don't know, man. I can see this is going nowhere. I thought we were going to get to a real place of healing and of growth, but I guess OT hasn't done the work and he's not ready for this conversation.
I've been doing the work. Wait, there's no work left to be done.
All that little girl had to do was stand there like Jake Sully at the end of the film and be like, you aliens never understand. Well, let's get back into the film. In regards to the themes, so you don't necessarily think that Catherine Bennett was I wouldn't say she was a bumbling vice president, but I do wish she had a bit more teeth.
I was quite impressed by her, actually. I think she did what she could in the situation she was thrusted upon. She stood up to the senior execs there in the boardroom and making fully aware that, hey, regardless of what you think should happen, this is my stand. I'm gonna be loyal. And she didn't bow, like she didn't cower. Even when she was talking to Ivan, and Ivan was being all demeaning, she didn't flinch.
Oh, but her nipples were flinching.
Yeah, but the silk blouse was covering all that.
If it's not political, it's nasty, friends and lovers. That's the genre you find us on your podcatchers, friends and lovers. Speaking of, I want to talk about Gary Oldman. I really enjoyed him in this film. I think a lot of the enjoyment, especially the dialogue that you're talking about, comes from Ivan's character. What would you say? Would you say he's your favorite?
He would, because he speaks facts.
Yeah.
Like everything he said was not wrong. His actions might be questionable, but everything he said up to that point was like, yeah, that's right. That's true.
Forehead kissing aside, I do like the real conversation he was having with Alice, because again, 12 is old enough to understand the world that is going on around you and to stop fucking painting your father with a patriotic eagle soaring brush. My dad's a good man. You're a terrible man. What the fuck is the difference, you stupid fucking...
Just a second ago, all she should be caring about is lip gloss. Now you're holding her to account to understand that the father is killing millions of thousands of people.
Correction. I said she's old enough to know that gawking at a refugee camp isn't correct, and it's wrong, and it's pretty much demeaning people to being in a zoo.
Okay, moving on.
Don't come at King Katie. You're going to miss.
Oh, wow.
But my point is, what I was enjoying between the particular dialogue with Ivan and Alice was, really trying to challenge her idea. Because I think for a lot of the time, as a child, as an impressionable child, in formative years, you don't know anything, really. All you know is what you've been told, the dogma of it all, right? And the impressions that she have is essentially just regurgitating from her parents.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Again, we'll leave it offline because we need to focus on other stuff. But I really didn't like that refugee camp. Like, I just didn't like it. Maybe she'll run for president in Haiti.
Wow. So to make you for president?
Yeah, go and check out the documentary, friends and lovers, where Praz helped to campaign and Wycliffe tried to run for the presidency of Haiti.
Weird thing is they've actually achieved the bloody goal.
Yeah, so maybe Alice has a chance.
It's a wild documentary.
It is, absolutely. But I really love the challenging that Ivan had, because maybe up until this point, you never really questioned it. But I also love the exchange that Ivan had with James, in being, how is it different? Just because you do it in a suit and tie doesn't mean it's any less malicious. If anything, it becomes more clinical, which kind of makes it worse.
Yeah, you have the emotion removed. You feel like, oh, I'm a good person, but at the end of it, hundreds of thousands of people have died.
Yeah.
He brought up the actual, he brought up the receipts.
Yeah.
You're killing thousands of Iraqis just because of oil.
Yeah.
And just to suit your political fucking interest.
Yeah.
And then you're coming at me for what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Facts, man. It's all facts. You can't run away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alice can't run away from it either. 12 years old or otherwise. She's going to grow up to be a Lena Dunham if we don't pull her into line, OT.
Nah, I don't wish that to anyone, mate.
Amy Schumer?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but like you said, perhaps we weren't supposed to agree with Ivan on a lot of the sentiment, but I think that's also why, DC specifically executes very well, the villain, right? The coming of, and Joaquin Phoenix, Joker 2 is being worked on, OT, and Lady Gaga is currently associated with it.
Yeah, the relatable villain is the thing.
Wow, you really just ignored that film news.
Yeah. No, from Killmonger, we've understood that, you can detest their fucking action, but the thought process and their thinking and what they're saying is facts.
Yeah.
And you can agree with that bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, everything Ivan was saying, I was like, yeah, cool, mate.
Yeah.
There's no debate here. And James, I'm pretty much sure he also agreed, because at the end of the day, he did not say, oh, no.
Yeah.
It's more the actions of, oh, America, red, white, and blue.
Yeah, but then the Russian flag is the same colors too. So are the British flag. But I don't know. Maybe they made it to the trademark office early, perhaps. But there was definitely some truth that was being said, and there was so many notions where I rolled my eyes. I want to come to one of the most favorite moments you had in this film, because very, very early in this film, it looked as though President James was ejaculating himself outside of freedom and into the stratosphere, yeah? And I was having a field day. I was really enjoying myself, because in his speech, he's like, oh, we need to do more for foreign shores, albeit ignoring his domestic affairs. And that was such a tasty line, I said. And we had a good muy caliente time. And what happened when we found out he was actually on the plane the whole time?
The domestic affairs were tight.
I smelt George Clooney coming out of your farts. You were so fucking smug. You were so proud of yourself for doing nothing and not being involved in this film. You were so proud of yourself.
Mate, do you do a podcast? Did you really think you'd leave the bloody plane?
And you're like, I'm going to stand by my man.
No shame, no shame.
What did you think about the action scenes? I guess while we're speaking, Harrison Ford, where does he rank with action stars for you?
With growing up with Indiana Jones, I wasn't really into Star Wars back then. So it'd be up there. It'd be up there because, well, what? That's all we had to watch. So, I just took him as one of the go-to action figures back then.
All right. I don't know. Maybe you just had to be there.
In hindsight, you're like, nah, but he was good. He's good people.
Well, I can find myself, nourishing my pussy valley, watching Denzel, in Training Day. So I think I am capable of enjoying cinema of past decades. I just don't think Harrison Ford rides my motor like that. That sounds like a title for The Boys, by the way. Let's let's talk about Xander Berkeley playing Agent Gibbs.
He has a face of an evil person, and he does a lot of evil shit roles.
I guess while we're here, friends and lovers, shout outs to our beloved Ben from Filmbusters. He prompted us to start watching Terminator. We've watched 2 out of the 6, so look out for a main review episode, friends and lovers. But he was also exactly the archetype that you're mentioning here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it wasn't surprising that he'd be bad. But the most shocking thing to me, at least, is if everyone that knew you were involved died, why continue to pursue that route? Wouldn't you just pretend, oh, I don't know how they got into the plane, I don't know. They could have forced him into opening the hatch. Anything, really.
Man, OT, for someone that didn't like the motives of Littlefinger and Asher, you definitely move in slimy motherfucker ways.
Slimy motherfuckers survive. And that's why I'm like, mate, Agent Gibbs should have been like, this is an opportunity for me. No one's ratted me out. Do you think Asha would be like, oh, I've betrayed Spartacus and no one found out, so let me just try and kill him just because? Nah, he'd be Spartacus's best friend. He'd fucking massage his feet. Agent Gibbs needed to be that slimy motherfucker.
Rest in peace, Andy Whitfield. Also, friends and lovers, go and check out our Spartacus episode. I know this is a surprise, but I don't agree with a lot of things you're talking about today.
Wow.
No, I would go down Dido with this ship. I would go down with my convictions. Because at the end of the day, all you have to hold on to is your dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yourself.
What dignity is there in dying a useless nonsense death?
No, a well-deserved death. I'll see you in Valhalla. Well,
nah.
No, not you, because you're not going to die honorably, you Ephialtes motherfucker. We also have an episode on 300, friends and lovers. But I really liked Agent Gibbs, but, you know, like Michael Ealy, whenever you see him on the screen, he's going to snatch up your wife. You just knew when you saw Xander Berkeley, you knew that he was the bad guy. Like, it was very obvious. And very shout outs to our fellow Australian, Callan Malvey. He's not the one to take long walks on the beach. You know he's an evil motherfucker.
Facts.
What did you think about... So you don't have any sort of like kudos for Agent Gibbs, because I think there was a lot of respectability.
No, there's respectability in trying to, you know, get your own, but respectability in betraying your people. Nah. No, I feel like I do get his, you know, demeanor up until the point where everyone else who could pinpoint him has died and he still went through. I'm like, these sort of characters, it's going against the sort of archetype. If you're a fucking slimy motherfucker, you stay slimy up until the end.
I don't know about that, sir. Says more about you than me. Just like 13 Game of Death said a lot about you, sir.
There's a lot of edited KT material out of that episode.
Do you want to release the OT tapes?
Yeah.
Speaking of releasing confidential information, what did you think about the fumbling of the facts in this film?
There were 2 black characters in this movie.
Wow, what a natural segue, OT.
It'll come back to the facts, don't worry. And both of them played arguably the most pivotal role
I can hear
in the movie.
I can hear the arguing. Yeah, it's happening.
We had Messiah Freeman playing Postmaster General. Her facts saved the movie, mate. Facts. You can't run away from it. All the shooting does nothing if the fact doesn't get through. All those people jumped out of the plane because of her.
Wow.
She should be the bloody picture on the poster. Forget bloody James Marshall. Nah. Postmaster, Air Force One.
You could start your own podcast of remembering black characters' names. Not even secondary. Tertiary in the background for 1 second extras. You could start your own podcast. Because you're very convincing. You're very persuasive until you remember that you've also seen the film and how little impact these characters have had.
Are you saying the facts didn't play a role
Did it also
in
get
them
neglected
escaping?
though?
Up until it wasn't.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if the poster was being redesigned now, Postmaster would have been pretty much a big figure in that.
Friends and lovers, if you are fractured by the casting of a lot of black characters, we do love Boyega. We also love Donald Glover. But, you know, if you're getting threatened by black casting in your sci-fi films, I'm almost certain that OT has a hand in that. He is writing letters. He is picketing. He is really advocating to get more black characters in your beloved sci-fi, friends and lovers.
I'm the black savior they've been wanting, mate.
Not the one they need. Wow, thank you. Thank you for that.
I did tie in the facts, didn't I? It wasn't irrelevant.
Sure. Absolutely. We didn't really want to talk about it, but I do kind of want to just mention the use of score in this film was very interesting in the sense that it was very much the blueprint of the American Idol sob story. Like every time there was any sort of, like I already felt manipulated at the start of the film, the way that they were contorting our emotions to a very American sort of sentiments.
Yeah, it was all America, this, America, that. Even like you said, every score, every scene, it was America is great.
And you hear that by default when you see the black characters, right?
Yeah. And even when coming to cut the wires, green and what? There wasn't an inkling that he had, it was, yellow. Nah. He was just like, red, white, and blue will save me.
Yeah.
Oh my word. It was so cringe. Okay,
so you started this episode saying you love the cheesiness, and now you're saying it was so cringe. So
I can love the cringe, can't I?
I suppose, yeah.
It was cringe lovable.
Wow, that's a genre. Check out OT's Letterboxd, friends and lovers. Okay, well, let's end with this, OT. We started off with some real shit to say, and I think we're going to end with some real shit to say. What are your thoughts on, well, this isn't what I want your thoughts on, but unfortunately, there are even like elementary schools in America that have heavily barricaded, security before getting into the school, having an appointed police officer. So that's not what I want your opinions on. But, America is very much a individual first protection sort of country. And you can also imagine how that would extend to the president's plane, right? So this is what I want your thoughts on. What are your thoughts on the fact that this was such a, coded mission that they were able to infiltrate it so easily? Because we didn't have Omar Sy in Lupin. So how, do you think it was more smarts on Ivan's crew, or it was lack of smarts for the Americans?
I think Agent Gibbs played such a big part in them getting through as well.
But how about the fingerprints? Because they actually had to replicate.
Yeah, so it was easier enough. Once they had identities of the people that would be allowed, mate, just chop them off and take them.
All right.
Yeah, quick and easy.
Captain O.T. Phillips, am I right?
Yeah. And it's not like they had photo identification, which was also, I'm like, why not?
But they had biometrics, so that counts for something.
But I just say, I don't think it was like a major flaw or a plot hole, because it was easy. They had an insider and they knew the details of the people who were going to go in there. So replicating the identities would have been easy as.
But there was a lot of talk about how America is such a robust country and how they prided themselves on, being impenetrable. That's more what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can pride yourself in a lot of things, but doing it is a different thing altogether.
Wow.
They used to say I'm quite the wise one, so.
Well, thank you, OT. I guess we'll leave it there, friends and lovers. Thank you, friends and lovers. Hopefully, we've detonated any of the problematic bombs you've had in watching Air Force One. We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
In honor of the vice president, I'm going to reference Veep.
That's a reference.
It is. And that's what we're doing.
Well, if you want to take it all the way there, I'm going to reference Venom. Let there be carnage.
What? I'm eager to see how you tie this reference into the movie.
America.
And there you have it, folks.
If you would like to tie our red, white, and blue on Twitter and Instagram, we're at @ForYourFpod.
Write us an email at hello@podcast.com.
We're also on OT Side Branching for all of the black characters in film podcasts if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.